Welcome to Health Business Mastery, the Creative Thirst podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Hewitt. So on today's show, I have Dr. John Bird, a PhD in biochemistry, joining me today. Dr. Bird, how are you doing?
Doing good, thanks. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to share what I'm doing with people and share my opinions with people. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Yeah, you've been in the supplement industry for quite a long time, right?
Well, since 2017 is when I started. Before that, I was involved in medical testing products more than anything else. But I got involved with supplements because a friend of mine told me that I should work on something important like glucose toxicity. And that's what led me to supplements, because they're perfect for glucose toxicity problems, which are a huge problem worldwide.
One of the key factors of a successful supplement company is really solving a problem or going after a niche problem that is a big pain point. And the one you mentioned is actually one of those little niches that are quite extensive.
Yeah, it's not a small one. It's a huge pandemic worldwide, as you may know. Glucose toxicity is what leads to insulin resistance, which leads to type 2 diabetes, which is a monstrous problem around the world. And it's really a tragedy because it doesn't need to be that way, because if people would just lower their calories and lower the carbohydrate intake, they could cut back on a lot of type 2 diabetes. And then supplements like the one that I'm involved in help people to better manage their glucose levels.
So walk us back to that journey when you first started your supplement company. What were some of the early struggles that you had in the beginning?
Well, early on, I had to analyze the problem. And the problem was that glucose we need for energy, but it's also toxic. It's like poison. It's a reactive chemical in your bloodstream that reacts with all the proteins in your eyes and your nerve endings and your kidneys. Everywhere there's a protein, glucose wants to react with it and glycate it. That's what it's called, protein glycation. And when you glucose reacts with the protein and glycates it, the protein has a different structure, and therefore it doesn't function properly anymore. And that's what leads to all the complications of diabetes. And so I thought, well, how can I stop that reaction from happening? And that led me to the formulation for Lysholin, which the primary ingredient is lysine, which is a natural amino acid. We have it in our body right now, but we aren't able to manufacture it in our body. We only get it from the foods we eat. So the levels we have are very low. So I thought, well, why not just add more lysine? So Lysholin has a lot of lysine in it. And so the glucose now can either glycate your protein or glycate this lysine. And when you form glycated lysine, that's a low molecular weight molecule, and you just excrete that in your urine. So it like soaks up all that extra glucose and makes you healthier. And it also has zinc and vitamin C in it. And both of those are known to help with a variety of problems, immune problems, as well as insulin function. So it really works, and we've done clinical studies we published that proves that it really does what I'm saying. I'm not, historically supplements have a bad name because guys like me make big claims that aren't substantiated, but that's not the case with Lysholin. Lysholin is built on a solid scientific foundation of published research. And now we have clinical studies that prove it. So everything I'm saying is documented and proven in the literature.
Now, when you launched, was that your only product, or were you selling it online, or were you selling it in your practice?
No, I don't have a practice. I'm not a medical doctor. And basically what I did was I came up with the formulation, submitted some patents on the formulation, which in 2017, I filed several patents, and 7 of them have been issued now. And then I found a contract manufacturer to manufacture the product for me, and we launched it in January of 2018. And I And, basically we started selling on our own website at Leishulin.com. And then we started selling on Amazon and Walmart.com. When we got that warning letter from the FDA, both Walmart and Amazon kicked us off their sites. And it's been impossible to get back on. It's like once you've been blackballed by Amazon, even though the FDA matter has been resolved and we've got documentation that we've resolved it and changed the labeling, we're struggling to get back on Amazon and Walmart.com. The good news is, just in the last month or two, we've signed up 750 CVS stores. That product is on the shelf there now, and the Walmart retail has the product on the shelf at 250 of their stores. So, but initially we sold it only primarily through social media advertising on Facebook, like that, and leading them to our website. But we're not making money yet by any means. I mean, the product is low cost and available without a prescription. It's only like $1 a day. It's $30 for a month supply. So it's available at low cost without a prescription. And, when people ask their doctor about it, doctors hate vitamins and supplements. They want to prescribe drugs. So that's a challenge. That's one of the big challenges with the nutritional supplements, is fighting that battle with the big pharma and with the medical community, because they want to prescribe drugs that have all these side effects. Well, if you have a side effect, let me write you another prescription for another drug that treats that side effect. So they're all about treating symptoms, not about treating the cause. And Leishulin treats the cause of insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. So that was a long-winded explanation.
No, thank you for the background. That was great. So it's it's kind of a single product, but it's in multiple forms, right? It's in the shake, the liquid, the capsule.
We also sell a home test for A1C. It's called A1C Now. And this A1C test is what your doctor, when you go to the doctor, he draws blood and sends it to the lab. They run that test in the lab, but you can do it yourself at home. And it's a fabulous companion product for Leishulin, because you can test yourself before you start and see what your A1C level is. That's your average blood sugar over the past few months. And if Leishulin works for you, you'll see an improvement in just 1 month. So that box that I showed you has 4 tests in it. So you can test yourself before you start, and then at month 1, 2, and 3. And for the majority of people, they'll see that their A1C improves, which means the Leishulin's working for them. And most supplements don't have a test like that you can run yourself to see if it does any good. Usually you just rely upon your own. So how are you feeling? Or
Right. You're taking it more based on faith than anything else, right?
yeah.
So where are you struggling with right now for the business? Like, what's the bottleneck for you?
Well, it's always the same: finding customers and finding investors. I mean, right now, I've been self-funding the company for like 4 or 5 years, and that's a lot of money. I'm always looking for investors, and it's amazing how hard it is to find investors. I mean, the venture capital situation is totally different than it was in 2000, where you could find some investors. These days, they're all under a rock somewhere, not doing any investing, just keeping their old investments going. Unless you have an app, and they find money for that, but not for supplements. So it's investors and customers. That's the challenge.
Now, how much is the test kit box itself? You say you have 4 in a box?
Yeah, 4. So it sells for about $70 now. So $70 plus $90 for the 3 bottles of Leishulin would be $160, and you can buy the combo pack for like $110 or $115, I think now. So it's a good bargain, but it also is great to tell you how well you're doing.
Are those available as a single? Let's say you just wanted to buy one one test or two tests?
We used to sell a 2-test box, but the company that makes it for us stopped selling that. Although you can go to CVS and Walgreens, I think, and they might have a 2-test, which is about half what we pay. It's about $35 or $40 for 2 tests versus $70 for 4 tests. So
I love the test idea. I mean, a test kit. I've seen that in a few markets. There are not many where they're like that. Yours, luckily, one that has a test kit. Tell me a little bit more about the initial acquisition of a customer, because I think that test kit is fantastic, right? I think that could be the primary offer in the beginning of a funnel to get someone to buy. So, have you ever tried bringing in a customer on one of those test packages, basically? So it's like before you even take the product, here's the problem, here's what's happening internally in your body. Maybe even take them through a quiz funnel, and then sell them a test kit, perhaps 1 or 2 test kits, so that they can get a baseline. Basically, the quiz would be find out your glycemic index level, right? And then your upsells could be the product, right? Because now if I bought the test kit front end, I get a baseline on day 1. And the upsell is the product. So now I can take the product for a month, and then I could take my second test kit after that first bottle, so I can see the difference. I mean, there's no better proof than that, which a lot of supplements, like you said, are really taken more on faith-based than anything else. After they buy the glycine, what other products do you have to sell them?
Well, basically, it's just for Leishman. It's just basically one product in several different forms: capsules, tablet, liquid, powder, and the shake. So, and then the home kit for A1C. I mean, that's the only products that we have, and that's enough products to have a successful company. You just need to keep building up your base of customers.
So, because all of the products are similar, just a different form factor, that's going to really limit you as far as your lifetime value, your average order value, and that's going to hinder you on what you can afford to pay to acquire a customer. So there's definitely a bottleneck there.
Yeah, it's expensive, and we do advertising, so we've got to keep track of our return on ad spend. And if we spend $1 for an ad, we need to get $3 of product sales. So we use kind of the 3x as our sort of our target for that, because if we get a customer and we can keep that customer, that's important, is keeping the customer. And as I said, Leishman works for the majority of people, so the majority of people that start using it will keep using it. So that means that the income from one customer per year is a few $100s, and that's enough with our cost structure. We don't have a big bricks and mortar and a bunch of employees, so we don't have that to worry about. We got a warehouse and a couple of people that manage the warehouse, and I've got a financial officer. But everything else is done with consultants, like the website management and the digital marketing is done with consultants.
So it's really the customer acquisition, the conversion rate on the front end that's the limiting factor for you.
Yep, exactly.
So have you done any A/B testing or anything on that front end, like changing the landing page, going to a pre-sale page versus a product detail page, anything like that?
Continually. I get so tired of changing everything. We get our consultants to say, "Oh, we should do this, we should do that, we'll try this and that." We see if it has any effect. We lowered the price of the product to see if that had any effect. It didn't have any effect. I mean, $1 a day is a reasonable amount of money to spend on something that's going to improve your blood sugar management. So,
yeah, if anything, I think the price point is a little low, quite honestly.
no, when we started, it's funny because I wanted to start at $30, and my partner said, "Oh, that's too low. Let's start at $60." for a bottle. So we started, and we didn't sell any at 60, so we dropped it to 29.95, and that's where we've stuck. That's where it's been since we started. Usually products every year, make a little bit like a 3% increase in price. We haven't raised prices since we started, so that's another opportunity, is to kind of start scooching that up a little bit.
Well, it's not always good to lower your prices in order to get the conversion. That could work, right? But you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot going into the future. So the fact that they didn't buy at 69 and they bought at 30 tells me that there's not enough marketing firepower. There's not enough sales push, right? That sales lever, the desire, the hope, it's missing basically in your sales funnel. Because if the marketing level was higher, then price would not be an issue, right? It's really about the perceived value of the product. Now, you also have a little bit of challenge as a preventative to a problem, rather than someone who already has diabetes. So it could be in the market that you're going after as well. But what I would recommend is really honing in on that value proposition. And as long as you've got your audience dialed in on your advertising aspects, then it's really just about kind of educating them along the way. And I would test things like a pre-sale page that educates them before they get to the product detail page. It adds another click, but it increases the desirability of the product. It explains a little bit more of the problem up front.
Yeah, it's a fine line, because if you put too much of that up front, people lose interest before they get to the buy now page. You know what I mean? It's like, I hate videos that are like over a few minutes long. I mean, 45-minute videos, sit through that, and you see these advertisements all the time with the 45-minute video. You got to wait till the end to find out what the product is. Like, that's really tough. I've got a nice little short video that is like a 2-minute video. I've got two of them. One is on what is the cause of diabetes, which is insulin resistance. And then I've got a second little short video, which is about Leishman and why it works, science behind it.
So you're getting right to the solution, really, without agitating the problem. So the reason why those videos are 45 minutes long, because they take the time to really agitate the problem and really to stir the emotion, right? People buy it based on emotion and then justify with logic. So if you go right to the science or right to the solution, like you're doing here, or the mechanism of action, you're skipping all that psychological upfront that's required to get that conversion. Now, you don't have to do it in a 45-minute. There are other ways. 45-minute video. There are other ways to do it.
Well, I think we do it in our 2-minute video on the cause of diabetes. And basically, people who have diabetes in their family are concerned about it for themselves, as they should be, because there is a genetic aspect to it as well as the lifestyle. And so, if you explain what the cause of diabetes is and how Leishman targets the cause, not just a symptom, basically what the message is. And you can do that pretty quickly, at least I think you can.
So let me give you a little bit of coaching here. You mentioned a couple of things that were really kind of vital. So one thing is the awareness or the sophistication level of the prospect coming to your page. So that tells me, since the video is really short, that you're not agitating that problem like we spoke about, that you're really just selling to those people who are problem aware. They're aware of the problem. And if the traffic that you're driving to that landing page is anything different, if you're driving anyone that's a colder audience that is not aware of that problem, then that's where you're going to struggle. That's where you're not going to be able to convert them. So you can do two things here would be my recommendation. One, try and get a more qualified prospect, and that is doing things like narrowing down the target search on Google, using Google keywords as your main traffic source, using Google Shopping as your main traffic source. Those are people that have a higher intent and are more aware of the problem because they're specifically searching for the problem. YouTube can also be a great way to leverage that too. Other traffic sources that are going after colder audiences, then I would send those people to a different page. Like I would send those people to a pre-sale page like we talked about, or I would send those people to a video sales letter or a long form text sales letter that really explains and agitates the problem. You're taking someone from a cold audience to a purchase is a lot harder than taking someone from a warm audience to a purchase. So I hope that helped a little bit and you can consider adjusting your funnel to doing that. But let's get back to kind of the problem or the state of the problem. Can you tell us how big the problem is in the marketplace?
Half the population over the age of 50 has pre-diabetes because it's like eventually, if we live long enough, you'll develop insulin resistance and diabetes. So there's a huge number of people that can use the product, and I hate to hear when people with type 2 diabetes take insulin because that's like a one-way street. You need more and more, and it works less and less because you have insulin resistance. And Leishman can stop that from happening.
I was wondering what your acquisition funnel looks like, right? So do you sell them the bottle, like we talked about selling them the two options, right? You get the supplement, you get the supplement, 3 bottles of supplement with the test kit. What about after that? Do you have any upsells after that where you're selling the Wonder Spray, or is that it? They just buy that?
Yeah, we inform them about Wonder Spray, but there's 2 separate companies.
So as we close out, what advice would you give to a supplement company that's starting out?
Well, I guess basically, I used to work in the venture capital industry. And if you want to start a company, you're going to need money. And that means investors. So you need to have an idea of how you're going to get that money raised. Basically, it's friends and family at the start, and then hopefully you can find investors. And if you're going to get an investor, they're really looking for 3 things. A unique product, which means patents, for a big market with an experienced management team. And Leishman's got all those 3 things, but still have trouble finding investors. So, but that's the big challenge is really finding customers and finding investors.
If we waved a magic wand, so if we waved a magic wand and you had $500,000 tomorrow, where would you put it in the company to grow it?
So basically, you use it to buy inventory and you use it for marketing and selling, not just advertising. And you got a couple of consultants to pay, and you got lawyers that end up taking a boatload of money also when you start a company. I spent so much money on lawyers for both just corporate stuff as well as patents. That's where a lot of money gets spent, but it's money you have to spend.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Okay, Bobby, well, thanks so much for having me.
If there's anything else you want to share, how people can find you again or check out your product or your website.
And if you want to try the product, or anybody that's listening wants to try the product, they should contact me. My email is jbird@jfbird.com, jburd@jfburd.com. Okay. Well, thanks again. Let's keep in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today, Doctor.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Alrighty. Bye. Creative Thirst is a direct response digital agency focusing on conversion rate optimization and A/B testing. We work with dietary supplement companies who are struggling to maximize the profitability of their funnels so they can scale. Through the last 7 years in the online health space, we've optimized many dietary supplement businesses. And in that time, we've uncovered the 3 critical funnels for success. We put together that information in a free digital download called The 3 Funnels Every Health Supplement Business Needs to Build a Multi-Million-Dollar Empire. You can get that free report by going to creativethirst.com. Scroll down to the appropriate section and click on the blue Get Your ebook button.